Hey, what's up guys, TheJordude here, back again with another Shadowverse tier making video. You guys really do enjoy these tier making videos, so I wanted to do more of it. And the mini expansion for the Fortune's Hand is coming out, I believe, tomorrow. So yeah, all the cards have been released now, I believe, for the Fortune's Hand mini expansion. And of course, these are obviously my opinions, so if you guys have different opinions about the things I say, feel free to let me know about those opinions down below in the comments. So yeah, let's get into it. The first card we're going to talk about is Erin. So I have to switch in and out of these tabs here, but Erin, this is the ability of her if you want to know her effect. So she's I'm not going to read the effects, it's going to get too long. So Erin is pretty good. Like, it's a 3 play point 1/5 that evolves into a 3/7, so her stats are good. If you're playing her on turn 3, she's most likely going to stick at least one turn, but maybe 2 turns if she's not a priority target for your opponent. But she is like kind of like in the mid game or later in the game as well. You could get extra Evo points. The Accelerate package is pretty much kind of like a control style deck. It's working out in combo decks just because there's strong win conditions like Roach and Terraformer at the moment. But like Roach gets rotated out next expansion, so if you're just playing Accelerate with Evo cards, it's not as good. Like you can see, Evolve Force is a type of control force deck that utilizes the Accelerate stuff, and this would work. It would fit in really well with the Accelerate control Evolve Force. But the deck's win condition is quite weak. But overall, I think this is a strong support card. Like, the Evolve effect is also pretty strong as well. You could search out for Accelerate. You just get, like, good gas, get good board control. I just think that Accelerate by itself is just lacking a strong win condition. That kind of just is like an Accelerate win condition. But since we're rating the card on its own, I actually have Erin here as A tier. Because she is strong in certain decks. Like if you're going to be playing the Accelerate package for Force, you will be playing Erin. Because if you're playing Accelerate cards, like a lot of Accelerate cards, why not run Erin, right? She's just very useful, good utility. Extra evos are good, extra healing as well. So yeah, I think she's a solid card, and that's why I think she is A tier. Next off, we have Alchemical Craft Sheaf. Now, I'm actually going on to Igni's video here because this is the only place that I can find the source of the card effect, so you guys can read the effect of Craft Cheese. So, like, I think this card, so with Earthright, the main win condition with Earthright right now is using mainly the Fool plus Carol. Like, the original package of Earthright Rune, which was focusing on Dark Mage being your win condition, it's still valid, and like this card is supporting like the Dark Mage as your win condition because it has Fanfare to deal 4 damage to an enemy. This could go to the opponent's leader, so you could do burn damage to them with this card. But looking at this card on its own, like the Evolve effect is great as well. But I want to talk about the downsides a bit. So it's Accelerate 2, summon an Earth Essence, but you're not doing anything when you do that. It's just summoning an Earth Essence and that's it. It does put a 7 play point Craft Streets into your hand and subtract its cost. But say for example you just play this on turn 2, it's really just doing nothing. It's kind of a brick turn. You're generally playing this card kind of in your mid game. So you kind of weave this in on like maybe like a turn 5 or something when you have some Earthrights on your board. So when you play it with the Accelerate, you're going minus tempo. And so, like, the reduction in cost, I would say generally, on average, you're going to have 2 or 3 Earthright sigils on your boards. Maybe you'll have 4 sometimes. So say you do have 4. So you do reduce this card cost to 3, which is kind of good. But then you already accelerated 2. So that the lowest cost it will be most of the time in ideal situations would be 3. But you already paid 2 for the Accelerate. So that's still 5 costs for a 4/4 ward, deal 4 damage. And the Evolve effect, if you're considering that as a 5 play point total investment, it is actually pretty meh, I would say. So yeah, actually I would put this card in just a B. I think it's decent. I would actually, if I could put a middle between B and C, I would put it there. Because when the fact that you have to invest 2 play points to accelerate it, and then you could get a reduction, and then lowest it'll be 3, maybe 2 if you have 5 Earth Sigils on the board. So it's like 4 play points for 4/4 deal 4. It's like it's alright, but just even cards like Imperator, the other 4-drop from Runecraft, the Imperator, is just better. So yeah, actually, I would actually put this card down to maybe a C tier. If it's going to be in between, I would actually round it down to C, in my opinion. Even though I wouldn't say it's really niche per se, but it's just C tier level because it's just not as good as B compared to like the other stuff that we see here. Okay, so the next card is Alchemical Warhawker, 4 and this card is actually, I think, pretty good. Like, it fits into the Evolve package, the Evolve sword deck. Evolve sword is mainly the stronger sword decks out of Evolve and like Rally sword. This doesn't really go with the Rally archetype as well. And like, it's kind of good. Like, turn 4, sword doesn't really have great options at the moment, I think. So, but it's not really a turn 4 card. You kind of have to play it on turn 5 because you're ideally playing it for 0 evils just so you can have extra evil points. So it's going to probably cost you at least 5 play points if you're doing that combo. Of course, you could obviously play it on turn 4 and evolve it with an evil point if you want. But then at that case, you're not going to get the weapon, Exterminus weapon, that low if you play it early on in the game. This is actually more of a late game card because later in the game, when you run out of evil points, you could play this for 0 evil, evolve it for 0 evil points, and your Exterminus weapon is going to cost cheaper. Like, you don't want to be playing this card for, I think, anything more than 6. Even 6 is very just meh. Destroy 2 enemy followers. Like, this card has a very strong evil effect, or fanfare effect, sorry. But you're not going to be playing the weapon on the same turn that you're playing Alaska, unless you're in the late game where you have evolved a lot of stuff already. So that's why I think this card is just more of a late. It has a 4. It's only 4 costs, but it kind of baits you in thinking that it's a 4 cost because really you're playing this a lot later in the game. So yeah, I guess you could combo with it. And this card is really good, but you have to get a significant amount of decrease in cost. I think on average you're going to be paying around 4 or 5 play points for this card, which is, I think, strong, but it's not like broken or anything. But yeah, so exactly like I just said, I think the card is strong, and that's why it is an A tier card. I actually think it's a bit better than Aaron, so I'm going to rate it as that. The ordering I don't think matters that much, to be honest, because they're all just individual cards, so don't care about the order too much. So next off, we have the Agent of Evocation, and this card is pretty much like a big, I don't want to get like demonetized, but yeah, it's just a big, hey, what's up to like Carol and Dirt Rune in particular, because they didn't nerf Dirt Rune in this patch, or Rune exactly, but I think the reason why they didn't make any nerfs is because they were printing this card, which is kind of like a tech answer to it. But when you think about it, the evolve effect is kind of like a tech answer to Carol, but in general it's just like a good effect. You evolve it, you get plus 5 defense, plus you're restoring 5 health. So when you actually think about it, first of all, I guess I'll talk about the fanfare. Like, the fanfare is like pretty decent. Like, if you play it on certain cards, maybe on certain turns that your opponent wants to do something in particular. For example, I guess like if you're playing against Shop Rune, for example, and you play this on your turn 7, they can't play their shop on their turn 7. They have to wait out to turn 8, and that's a big deal. So I think the fanfare is just going to hit a lot of certain decks because there's key turns where they're playing non-follower cards that's really going to affect them. So that's really cool in that sense. After the evolve effect, so say your max health is at 25. This changes a lot of interactions now. A lot of OTK potentials, a lot of burst damage where normally you would be dead on this turn, but now you're not. So if you think about it, you're at 25 health. If you're playing against like Terraformer Forest, they can't kill you on turn 6. If you're playing against Roach Forest, if they have the roaches set up, normally they could play 3 roaches on one turn. Maybe they could do more if they have like a crazy hand, but say they do 3 roaches, that normally kills you because that's 21 damage, right? 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it's 21 damage, 23 with an evil. If you're at 25 health, you're not dying to that roach combo anymore. If you're playing against like control burn blood and then you heal all the way up to 25, maybe under turn 10 when they play the world and all the burn, they won't be able to kill you anymore, just because that 5 extra health is like 2 more cards that they need to play, 2 extra burn cards that they need to kill you with. So yeah, there's just like a whole bunch of different situations where this card is going to be really useful. I think like a lot of people might not be thinking too much about the +5 health, but I think it makes a huge deal actually with if you look at the current meta and what the damage range is. I think this card is going to be really powerful and played at least like maybe a 2 of in a lot of different. So yeah, I think this card is going to be like a staple must play card, especially in this current meta, and it's going to make a huge it's going to make a significant impact in a lot of games. So I am putting this in the S tier. So next off we have Bao, the legendary for Bloodcraft. The fanfare effect is actually pretty good. It is pretty expensive though. Like when I looked at the blood card collection, and this might change in the future, but it's not like Bloodcraft has cards that adds tokens into the hands. Like all the cards that summons bats, it summons bats. It doesn't add them to your hand. So you're not going to get a lot of fuel to fuse into your ball actually, I think. Now if you're playing like Bloodcraft decks that have a lot of card draw, you often will be drawing a lot of cards and actually overdrawing in some situations. So Bao does kind of you could just gradually fuse cards into your Bao to keep your hand size in check, and I think that's what a big purpose of this card is going to do, is just kind of keep your hand size good, and then once you gradually put enough cards into it, then you can play it and it's going to be pretty good. You're going to deal 6 damage to all enemy followers, and you're going to be able to draw until you have 6 cards in your hand. So, or like if you commit everything into your ball, if your hand's just garbage, you could just fuse everything into it, play it, and then kind of redraw. So it is a really cool effect. I kind of wish that the 6 damage went face, just so we could have some kind of aggressive burn blood. But maybe that would be a bit too toxic, I don't know. But actually, I think I have like a cool idea with this card. I think I would be playing this with Ravenous Corruption, and like you have your Ravenous Corruption ability off, you play like ball, you redraw your hand, play more balls. I think it'd be cool. So yeah, I think we can make a machine gun blood deck in rotation, and that's going to be an interesting deck that I want to try out, and something I'm going to make a video of quite early into the mini expansion, I think. All in all, I think it is a cool card, but I think it's going to be a decent card in some decks. Like, of course, you might be able to splash it into pretty much any blood deck, but some blood decks like Control Blood might not have that many fallers. They have like a lot of spells and stuff, right? So I think it's not as flexible. So I think this card is going to be decent in certain decks. I think it's on the edge of being A tier, and I think it could go up into A tier, like probably in the next expansion if there's more support for this kind of card. I think it can definitely go up, but I'm going to put it in for B tier for now, and that's just kind of like a safe answer, but I think it's possibly an A. But yeah, I think A or B, if you put it in either of these two, I'd be fine with it. It's just that right now I think that this card could be a little bit awkward at times, but yeah, I'm really interested in this card and its potential. So the next card is Life Banquet. This is the card I reviewed on my previous video. So yeah, I have special feelings for this card. And I kind of already made an analysis in my review video, so you guys could go check that out if you want. Personally, I think this card is fantastic. Draw 2 and summon a Furious Mountain deity most of the time. Strictly better Harvest Season. And yeah, sometimes it could be a win condition with Deepwood Anomaly. I'm just going to be really quick about this one. I'm putting Life Banquet in S tier. So the reason why, I'm a little bit biased, so you can take it with a grain of salt. I think it's a solid A tier for sure. I'm putting it in S tier because I think it meets the criteria that I have for an S tier. Like, it is a staple in pretty much every Forest Craft deck that you're going to be playing, except for Terraformer, but Terraformer got nerfed, so we won't talk about that. And yeah, it's going to be a must-play card in a lot of Forest decks. It supports well even for like if you're playing an aggro Forest, because it plays a 3/4 and you're drawing 2 cards when you normally run out of gas in aggro Forest. So like it's going to be played in aggro Forest decks, it's going to be played in control Forest decks, it's going to be played in combo Forest decks. And is it going to have a significant impact? I guess that's the one point that you could argue. It's not making a significant impact, but maybe in the future if they do have like cards that add to your combo, and you could get the 8 play cards with like Banquet often, then it's going to have a significant impact. But yeah, I'm going to put it in S tier, but like I said, you can put it in A tier if you want. Okay, so next off is Ilmizuna, Discord Hawker. Discord. Yeah, this card pretty boring, honestly. Rally 15 is like you get that around turn 7-ish, I would say, turn 7, turn 8. So it is actually kind of slow to get Rally 15 with Swordcraft. And the payoff isn't really anything special. Recover 1 evil point, that's it. And for that high rally, I feel like it should be Rally 10 for recovering 1 evil point. The evolve effect, like, it's okay. It's not great. It's just dealing damage to an enemy follower. So maybe you could 2 for 1 or 3 for 1, but it's like a 2-drop. But the thing is, like, if you're playing a Rally Sword deck, because you're going to be playing this in only like more aggressive Rally Sword decks, you have better things to do, I think, to play your 2 play points. Like, cards that will actually increase your rally count is going to be better than playing this card. Like, if you could pay 2 play points to summon 2 followers, it's going to be better than just playing this card for a 2 play point 2/2. So yeah, with that being said, I'm putting this card in D tier just because it's a very, very mediocre card, and like the deck that you would put it in, like, you don't even want to play this card. So yeah, D tier. So Eternal Whale, it's kind of funny. It's just for all the whales out there that spent, like me, that spend too much money in Shadowverse. But yeah, so this could be an iconic card for players like me, but the effect is very weird. Like, it's supposed to burn your opponent, but you're putting 4. I mean, 1 play point 5/7 ward is good, but how are you going to draw them? Like, there's no real dragon deck that really supports this, or there wasn't any kind of dragon decks that ever really supported this. Discard Dragon does draw a lot of cards, so like I could maybe see this being played in something like a Discard Dragon, but like to play the first whale is just kind of bad. Like 6 play points for this. It's like, it's got okay stats and it's got ward at least. But yeah, maybe people are going to try this out. Maybe it's better than what I'm thinking it's going to be, but I think this card is just kind of a meme. And so because I think it's a meme, I think it's D tier. I think it's better than Discord though. So okay, the other dragon card they got was Feline. So they brought back Feline, which is cool. And now she's doing AoE damage. The 1 damage AoE, I don't like. Maybe in the future is better. If this came out in the beginning of the expansion when Rally Sword was more popular, it would be better. It's just that the 1 damage doesn't do too much, I think. But White Frost Whispers are pretty good. It just destroys a follower if they've taken damage. So I like that sense. And then if you evolve, you could get another one. The way I see this too is it's also just giving you extra cards in your hand for, like, if you're playing Discard Dragon, you could just discard those White Frost Whispers. Maybe the 1 damage AoE plus 2 damage pings from your Ship's Bane could clear more stuff than before. But yeah, I think it's a solid card. And aside from Discard Dragon, just like other dragon decks in general, like they played the old Feline, and I don't see too much of a reason why you wouldn't play this Feline. It does cost 1 more play points, so like if you whiffed out on your Dragon Oracle on turn 2, you can't play this instead. That's like the only big difference I would say it is. But yeah, I'm actually going to put this in B tier. Originally I had it on A tier, but yeah, I think it's a decent card. It's just not like, it's not strong, I would say. It's not as strong as these two in my opinion. So I'm going to put it in B tier. I would rank it lower than Bao though. Or yeah, they're similar, I would say. Next off is Forced Resurrection for Shadowcraft. I think this card is actually really cool. This card is unique in that it's saying destroy a follower. Now, a lot of cards in Shadowverse, they actually force you to target your opponent's followers or your opponent's side of your board. There's not actually too many stuff where you have the freedom to target anything, because it's either targeting your opponent or just targeting yourself in the past. So with this, it actually opens up a lot of possibilities. You could use this, it's really, because it's so flexible, you could be just hard destroying like big followers from your opponent, or you could be like destroying your own like for example, you go fatal or turn 6 fatal order, get your He Who Once Rocked, and then you force resurrection your own He Who Once Rocked to get the Dreadlord out. And I think that's going to be one of the bigger combos that you could do with this deck. So you get your 5 damage storm, and then you get your 6/6 that's summoning a 4/4. So I think that is one of the few combos that you could do with it. Of course, you could just hard remove your opponent's followers. And so both players perform Reanimate 3. So the downside, of course, this card has to have some kind of downside with such a powerful effect, and that's giving your opponent a Reanimate 3. But that Reanimate 3 might not even be good for certain decks. For example, if you're playing against like Roach Forest, what are they going to do with a Reanimate 3? They're going to get like I guess they could get like an Elf Queen or something, but that's about it. Or if you're playing against like Dirt Rune, where are they going to get Reanimate 3? They're just going to get like a Fool or something. So, and you can actually get better Reanimate 3s. There's quite a few 3-drops in Shadow that are really good when you reanimate them. So, yeah, I think Fourth Resurrection is a really strong card and could be used in a lot of different decks. You could just put solid 3-drops in a lot of different Shadow decks as well. It doesn't have to be in a particular Shadow build. So yeah, I'm actually going to put this card in A tier because I think it's actually really strong, and there's a lot of combos that you could do with it with what Shadow has to offer. So yeah, I think, and it's a very flexible card. So I think it deserves to be an A tier. The reason I think it's possible that it could be even an S tier card, but just the fact that it does have like downside to it, maybe it's not going to be as helpful as I imagine. But I think the pros definitely benefit the cons. So yeah, I'm going to put it in A tier, but I'm actually considering putting it into S tier. So we'll put this in the front of A tier for now. So the next card in line was Lazuli Gateway Homunculus. This card, I think it's like okay. It's a decent card. It's 2 play point 2/2 ward. So it has ward, that's cool. The evolve effect is alright, I guess. Like the thing is, when you're evolving, like you can evolve. I guess you would ideally play evolving, and then if you have something already on the board that could get a good trade, then that's cool. Or if you have something like a Paradigm Shift that's costing pretty low, so you could play that Paradigm Shift with Lazuli, and then maybe you could get some good trades, like you could make the 3/4 drain take 0 damage, and trade something, get the drain, just kind of have decent boards from that. So, but the evolve effect isn't as great. I think the main point is your Fanfare Enhanced 9. Put the highest cost Portocraft Follower from the deck into play and activates Fanfare effects. So like, so the thing with this card is that ideally what you're going to be pulling out is like cards like Vertex Colony or Omniscient Kaiser, or maybe in the future there might be other really strong expensive Portocraft cards in your deck. But like, it's just a way of searching it out and playing it. When you're enhancing 9, she's not gaining any bigger stats, so you're still going to get the 2/2 ward. But then like, so you're paying 9 play points and say you're getting a Vertex Colony out. Vertex Colony already costs 9 anyways, so you're not gaining the card out any turn sooner. And you're just getting an added extra 2/2 body, which doesn't really matter too much. Usually if you're playing Vertex Colony on 9, you're just winning the game on that turn anyways. So I don't think that really matters too much. Pulling out the Omniscient Kaiser, I guess you could get the Kaiser out 1 turn early, but I don't know how much that really matters. Maybe it matters more than I think. But yeah, I think this card is a decent card. It would be kind of hard to just fit this into your deck if you're playing like an Artifact Portal. I don't really see room for it. But considering in the future, and maybe you be playing this with something with Omniscient Kaiser, I'm going to put it in decent. Because it's not like it's a niche card. It's not reliable. It's a consistent card. It's just kind of slow. It's not very impactful. Like, because it's enhanced 9. I think if it was like enhanced 8, I think it'd be a lot better. But yeah, enhanced 9. So it's not, when you're pulling out big fallers by turn 9, then with just an extra 2/2, it's just decent. I think it's just decent. But what's not decent, what's actually insane, is Lucille, Keeper of Relics. I think this card is very powerful because it's very easy to combo her with like a cheap artifact, like a 1-cost artifact. So on like turn 6, or if you have something like a 0-cost Paradigm Shift, you could combo this with it as well. evolve Lisel, and you get a Radiant artifact. So the Radiant artifact is, of course, this one with Storm. So that's already good. Like 5 play points, maybe a bit more because you had to play artifact to evolve her, or maybe even if you just play her on turn 5 and you use an Evo point to evolve her, you get a 4/4 plus a 4/3 with Storm. So you could put a lot of pressure on your opponent. Also, you're getting an extra artifact on the board for free, which is going to reduce your paradigm shifts. Also, it's going to be adding Radiant artifact into your death pool. And that's actually a really big deal because a lot of times you don't actually get Radiant artifacts in your death pool in rotation artifact portal, because the only way you get Radiant artifact is with your synchronization, and a lot of times you're either getting the analyzing artifact or the paradigm shift. In very niche situations, you're grabbing the Radiant artifact, in my opinion. So by getting this into your pool for free, essentially, it's really good because it's going to make your artifact duplicators a lot better. It's 4 damage Storm, so it's adding a lot more pressure when you just drop artifact duplicator. Maybe you have Radiant, maybe you have Airstrike. So you could do a lot more damage with your duplicator, for example. And also it adds one more different artifact into your death pool for your Modesties, your Vertex Colonies, and also those cards that just have those effects where you need to have 6 different artifact cards in your death pool to trigger an effect. So like Spinaria, for example, as well. Spinaria, also talking about this card, is also just a really strong card because you do have to find it back from your deck, but once you do, and you have the condition met, which I think is going to be a lot more likely now because you get the free Radiant artifact, you're going to be able to evolve this card. It becomes a 3 play point 6/6 that has Rush, and it's going to do 6 damage AoE. So it's really strong. I think Lisel is an insane card. Artifact Portal with already a climbing deck in the meta. So yeah, definitely an S tier card. Staple in, I think even if you're not playing Artifact Portal, if you're just playing other portals, like you could still run her because she's just good. Yeah, it must play significant impact. So yeah. So next off we have Nephthys, Goddess of Feet. Put to, I don't think this card is really impressive. Like her enhanced 10 is really interesting, to be fair. Like she is an alternate win condition card, which is always cool to see. Great for content creators like me, to see cards like this. But the condition is pretty hard to hit. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you have to be running like a really good curve. You also have to have all those followers of different costs in your graveyard, and you can win the match on turn 10. Now there's already a lot of decks that just OTK on turn 10 anyways. So it's kind of like, oh, do I gotta go first? Oh great, I could play my turn 10. But if you're not going first, a lot of times you don't actually see your turn 10. And the condition to hit that is inconsistent, in my opinion. Maybe they can make a shadow deck where you have your graveyard like set up like this, so you have a consistent turn 10 Nephthys kill. That'd be kind of cool, I guess. But it's not a consistent win condition. It's a late win condition. However, it is an auto win condition. It's not like the other decks that turn 10, oh, I get to win for sure. There are some conditions with that turn 10 lethal, for example. Even like for like Portalcraft, the turn 10, the World, and Ragna, they have to hit certain conditions. Like they have to not draw all the worlds. They have to have a target for the Ragna to work. And they have to have a follower. Your opponent has to have a follower on the board so the world can attack. So there are conditions for turn 10 lethals for a lot of the decks. Or like some decks, maybe they don't have enough damage, or they have to have some kind of luck go their way. So I guess in that sense, you do get an auto turn 10 for sure if you have the conditions met. But her fanfare put to random followers of different costs. I guess so that's good. Like different costs, so you could hit it more consistently. And destroy them. But you're paying 6 play points for this card, 6 play point 5/5, and you're doing nothing essentially on that turn. So I think it's really weak, especially in the mid game where in Shadowverse, or in this meta in particular, that in those stages of the game, it's really important to be getting ahead of your opponent so you can start setting up wins. So I think this card is a bit too slow. And the fact that you can't accelerate your enhanced 10, you have to be doing this at 10 play points is so yeah, I think it makes it a lot more restricting. To be fair, it is an auto win condition, so it does have to be slow. But I am putting this card in C tier just because it is niche and not reliable. Exactly. Next off, we have Night Screech. So pretty simple card. Summons a Forest Bat. If you have Wrath, like evolve it, draw a card. So if you have Wrath active, obviously this card becomes like 10 times better than if you didn't have Wrath active. Although it is a way where you could more quickly get to your Wrath, because it is 1 play point, just deal 1 damage to your leader. So yeah, I mean, it does support Wrath. Wrath Blood in general is just a bad deck, and this doesn't make Wrath Blood in general a stronger deck. It's just a good support card for the deck. But as we already know, just good support cards for decks don't make them better. Like Wrath Blood got a lot of good support cards, but they're still a really bad deck. So but I do have to rate this card as itself, and as itself, I think it is a very strong card in the red, or not a strong card, but I think it's a decent card. In certain decks, you gotta be playing a deck that's supporting Wrath, so I think I'm going to put it as a B. Because it is strong, but it's not like strong where it's making a huge impact into your deck. It's just like it's a good support card. It's a decent support card. So I think B tier is fair for this. Okay, so next off we have the Winged Dragon of Ra. This card is interesting. It's like another, like, it supports those Haven decks that are just trying to do nothing. Like if you're playing Wilbert Haven, where you're just playing a bunch of wards and just burning your opponent out because your opponent has to hit into the wards. It kind of goes with that deck because you're just not doing anything but playing wards, protecting yourself, and over time you're just going to burn out your opponent. So I don't like this at all, just because being so passive has never really been good in Shadowverse. You kind of, unless you have like an ultimate win condition that's like pretty early, like Shop Rune for example, or like Terraformer. Those are passive decks, but they have a win condition that could just OTK on like turn 6, turn 7. This is a very slow and gradual burn damage, and it's not like it's like Natural Dragons with Voldane or anything, because Voldane you can ramp up the damage by a lot and really quickly. This is like just every turn you gain 1 extra damage, and sure it adds up, but it's still not really significant, and it's not like a fast clock on your opponent, which I think this card needed to be. It had to be a much faster clock. So yeah, I don't really see this as being like reliable. I would put this in C tier, but the more I think about it, I think it's just kind of a D tier. No, I'm going to stick to my original C tier, because it is pretty niche. Like maybe they're supporting more kind of like stall Haven decks. But it's a really niche card, not reliable as a win condition. A lot of leader effects are kind of like win condition, you build around it. But this is such a slow win condition that I think it just belongs in C tier. But yeah, maybe I'm underestimating it. Next off is Rune. So Spell Boost Rune doesn't really have anything good. Like the upcoming expansion, they would have to drop a lot of good Spell Boost cards, I think, to make Spell Boost come back. But this card in general, like it's just kind of a pretty awkward card in my opinion. Like I think most of the time you're just going to be playing her and she's going to Spell Boost your hand for 1 and you're going to draw 1 card. I think rarely you're even going to hit 4 Spell Boosts on this follower, let alone 7, let alone 10. So like I think, yeah, it's kind of an underwhelming card. But if you think about it as just kind of like a staple card for spell boosting stuff, it's okay, I guess. Like if it's kind of just like a possibly slightly better version of Magic Missiles, which is spell boost your hand by 1, essentially draw a card. Because like it does have some upside sometimes if you had it to have it sitting in your hand, or you played a card that drew it and then it spell boosted it, like because Spell Boost Rune does have cards now where it draws a card and then it's going to spell boost it a bunch of times. So you will get these added effects occasionally, but yeah, I mean the card itself is just kind of alright, I guess. But yeah. So the card being alright, would put it in B tier because I think it is decent. In spell boost decks, and the way that they're building spell boosts now, it does kind of make it better. But it's nothing. It's not strong. Definitely not strong. And it's not like not reliable. It's a reliable card, and it's just decent. So the last card being Temple of Heresy. I did some little bit of math with this card. Like, even you'd have to be playing a deck that has a lot of countdowns to it, so you're just relying on this card being your win condition. So you want to be drawing it as soon as possible, ideally on your turn 1, and then you have to have enough of countdown cards to reduce it. Otherwise, I think on average, and especially if you're just saving your evo points in the mid game, which in itself is hard, I think on average you're going to be getting the countdown down around turn 7-ish. So like turn 7 you get to play a Prince of Darkness or Prince of Casitas, but then it's not until the turn after is where you're going to be drawing the Casitas cards or the Apocalypse cards. I didn't really think about too much of how soon you could get this down if you're just playing a deck full of countdown reduction cards, but in a way that deck just sounds really like really niche anyways, so I don't think this card is going to be that good. I'm really disappointed in the cards that he even got this mini expansion, to be honest. Like, they're supporting amulets, and they gave us another amulet, but it's not an amulet that really works with what the other amulet cards have been doing. So they're kind of just all over the place with Haven, in my opinion. But yeah, Temple of Heresy, as itself, I put it in D tier because, like, I don't know why you would be playing this. You're just going to be playing it to meme, and you're going to make some cool decks. Maybe in the future, with more like good countdown cards and amulets, maybe it could be better, but really it's kind of bleh. So yeah, that's the tier list for the mini expansion. It's actually pretty even. B is kind of got a couple more cards, but I think this is kind of like your average curve, or everything else has like 3 cards, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, I think it's a pretty even list. I actually made some edits on the fly while I was talking about these cards, from what I originally had in my notes. But yeah, I think I'm pretty satisfied with this. Again, if you have different opinions, or if you do support my opinions, please let me know in the comments down below. And if you did enjoy this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more Shadowverse content. I'll be getting new deck and gameplays with the new mini expansion cards when the expansion comes out, so look forward for that. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.